Okay, I'm going to start with how you ended up at Clarksville Highway.
Okay. Well, I was living in Clarksville, wasn't real happy with the church where I was going there, and friends of mine, about three different couples, had gone to Clarksville Highway, and they kept telling me they had recently gone to Clarksville Highway, and they said, "Come on down, because I think you're really going to like it." Well, I'd never been in a small little country. I'd always been in large churches, even as a kid. Uh, I grew up in the church in Murray, Kentucky, but it was a large church, and so I did, and was pleasantly surprised. I really liked it. So that's how I ended up at Clarksville Highway. So for until Charles and I met and married, I drove from Clarksville down to Clarksville Highway to go to church, every week. So yeah.
With me, the kids and I were going to church over here in Main Street in Springfield, which was close by because we were living right here. And Brian and Larissa started going with my brother and his wife, Bill and Lisa, who were going there. That's before they had children. And they were taking them to youth activities. We didn't have a youth program basically over at Main Street. So when they started going there, I thought it was probably a fairly good sized church because they were doing all kinds of things with, it was Mark Atkins and Spider Baker. And I happened to have known Spider from college. So it was kind of odd. But I started going because they were going, and that was 30-something years ago. I'm still there.
And Clarksville Highway was more like a family.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've heard a lot of people have said that in these videos. And so, how did the two of you meet then? Was it at church?
It was at church, yes.
It kind of started with me with the puppet show. I don't know if you remember, we had the puppet shows in the basement. And she and I were doing
VBS.
Well, we had a Sunday school too. We were doing the puppet shows. She and I were the puppets, and we were down underneath and holding the puppets up and sitting here talking to one another. And so anyway, that kind of put a spark in me. And after that, I kind of casually followed her all over the church building for a month or two.
People were telling me, he's like following you everywhere, talking surprise, right? But something funny though was, we had never, dated or anything. We would talk at church, and so one Sunday morning, he told me 5 different times that morning that his kids were at their grandparents' for the weekend, and he was all alone. And so I was having friends over for lunch that day. So finally, I just said, "Well, would you like to come to lunch? I've got some friends coming." He physically jumped backwards and said, "Oh no, I can't. I have to do my laundry."
That's true. Yeah. But I had to do my laundry. That was
Laundry day.
Yeah, it was laundry day.
So anyway, one thing led to another, and about a year later, we were married. Yeah. But we were in our 40s. We each had 2 children, 2 older teenagers. Like the youngest had just, when we married, Larissa had just graduated high school. So they were college age. But they were, in and out of the house. So God was good, because that could have been a recipe for disaster. And through just a lot of prayer and a lot of biting our tongues, I think. And God has really blessed that, and it has. Well, not that we didn't have moments and difficulties, but God has really blessed that, in that we're a family.
We're family. Yeah. All the kids are great friends
we
too.
Are a family. And it's the grandkids don't know the difference,
Yeah.
It's aunt and uncles. They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. And anytime we have something, they always say, "Well, where's so and so?" or "Are they coming?" It's.
Right.
Yeah.
So just lots of prayer.
Yeah, and that's a sweet thing. I know it is for you all.
Yeah, it can be a disaster.
Yeah. So you shared, Charlie, that your favorite verse was Philippians 4:12 and 13.
Yes, right.
Tell us about that. Why is that?
Well,
Why do you choose that?
I think,
Is that-
I guess as I've gotten older, I've come to realize that our spiritual growth, in my case, has come from two different things. One being actively studying, reading, prayer, fasting, but a big part of it has come from overcoming the obstacles or traumas, death of a spouse, death of a family member, death of a brother, tragedy from having a stroke to, other physical ailments and stuff. It's almost like those things have, I don't use the word forced me, but has been a struggle which has strengthened me, through that, my spiritual walk. And that's why, to me, when Paul's talking, when he's writing to the Philippians and he's talking about, I know what it is to be hungry and I know what it is to be well fed. Here's a man that's been shipwrecked, beaten, and everything. And he says, I know the secret of being content. And that's, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And then James said, consider it a joy when we suffer. And so that's why it means so much to me is, I've been well fed and I've been hungry. And that's why the verse it really hits home with me. I think my spiritual walk has become stronger because of the adversities and also because of my willingness or wanting, to become stronger. So I just have a strong feeling about that verse. It really means a lot to me.
It's a favorite verse for a lot of people, but I feel like they single out a lot of times verse 13. I can do all things. So I thought it was interesting that you put the verse before it to kind of, show us exactly what he's talking about there when he says, I've learned the secret and it's Christ. So now, Vicki, do you have a favorite or one that you'd like to share?
I've thought about this and I think different times in life, different verses mean a lot, depending on your circumstance. But one that has always is like, it's a prayer for me, really, is at the end of Psalm 19. I think it's verse 14. I'm real bad about remembering exactly. But it's, let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. And that's really, I'm going to get all teary. That's really my prayer for my life. I want, not that it looks that way a lot of times, but what I want and what I pray is that everything I say and think and do will be what God wants me to be saying and thinking and doing.
Right. That is a good one. And for me, the meditation of my heart, because I can make myself say what I need to say, but is my heart,
It all comes from the heart.
right, is my heart there. So that is one. And I was wondering, just getting back to your kids, blending the whole family together and all of that, is there something that you all feel like you did, or is there something you feel like you did as a family to kind of promote spiritual growth or just closeness within everyone? I know you said lots of prayer, and I understand that completely. But is there something that you think you did as a family that helped that or that promoted that, or just something that you did that you maybe weren't even thinking would help, but you were like, wow, I'm really glad we did that because it meant a lot to the kids and it was good for us? That may put you on the spot.
I think we both, from the very beginning, made a conscious effort to include everybody in everything.
True.
And even at times, I mean, especially in the very beginning, we got different personalities, our children are all different, like everybody's. But when you take two families, bring them together at that age, you can't expect them to change anything about their personality to fit. So just getting them together and experiencing them. We did a lot of fun stuff, and with them, and always tried to make it fun. And I mean, we had games, and we've had one of the main things. We have a big Easter egg hunt every year. I mean, it's a big deal. and our grown kids are.
They won't let us quit.
No, it's full contact.
They're all in their 40s.
It's full contact Easter egg
Easter
hunt.
egg, yeah.
I mean, it is a serious full contact. They are all four
I gotta
and their
find out about
spouses
this.
are extremely competitive. We've had contests on.
We've got video of them tripping each other to get to the egg.
But we've done things like this year. We had them. She sewed together 2 T-shirts, and they had to wear a T-shirt as a team, and they couldn't select. They had to draw numbers.
To hunt in pairs.
They had to draw numbers, and so that who they'd get paired up with.
Yeah.
And you had little ones and big ones, and then they only had one arm they could use. Each one of them did, and so they were dragging each other around the yard. I mean, we've just done stuff like that.
We've always tried to do fun things, but also I think one thing that's I think pretty important, especially when you bring a family together with kids at that age, is that we didn't try to parent the other children. Like, I was, at that point, I wasn't their mother, and he was not their father. And so we tried as best we could to let the parent their child, so that we wouldn't have resentment and, just cause hostilities, and I think that helped a lot.
But we talked
sounds
about
very
it.
We left
wise.
the parenting up to the parent.
But we talked about it.
Yeah, we would discuss it.
But the other, we were usually in agreement.
But let the
I mean, we
parent
would
make
agree with what was
Right.
going to be done or
Right.
said or whatever, but then it would be left up to me for my children and him for his children, for the most part. And I think that was one thing that was really beneficial in trying to bring a family together. Because it can be hard.
I mean, it's hard under the best of circumstances. So,
But they come together. I mean, it's been really amazing to watch. But even now though, all 4 of the kids and their spouses will call us for counseling. It doesn't make a difference which parent it is.
Yeah, I mean that over the years that has grown where
We're the parents.
we're in the parent role now.
For both sets, both.
Yeah.
But it happened kind of naturally and progressively.
We didn't force it.
Right.
And that too is it's all down to prayer. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
Getting out of the way and letting God do what He's going to do, because
And
you get in
trusting
between God and what's going on, you're going to mess it up every time.
Yeah, I've done that for sure. So, Charles, if you would share with us something that a ministry that you really appreciated that you've been a part of at Clarksville Highway.
After one of our retreats, the church decided to do a connecting points ministry, which involved getting people participating in events that were basically not church goers. It may have been the spouse of a lady that worked with the church there. It was people who did not have had a direct connection, but were not coming to church. And so we wanted to connect with them in some way outside of the building. In other words, they didn't have to come to church. So we did the wild game dinner. We had the Father's Day barbecue. We had cowboy shoot. We had one with shooting flintlock rifles and throwing tomahawks. We had another event where we had a fly fishing school. So we did a lot of those type of things. Even the Trail of Treats was one that came through that. So doing all of that, I felt like we able to make contact. And there were quite a few people. I'm not going to sit here and name their names, but there were quite a few people who are now have been coming or have come to our church and have become active members through that contact that we made at that time. And I really felt good about that event happened. Those events happened.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize they were all connected
Yes.
by this idea of connecting points. That's why how they all started.
Yeah, that's how it all started.
That's interesting. Well, we thank you guys very much for letting us into your home and learning a little bit more about you. I learned something again that I didn't know about you. So thanks a lot, and tell them bye.
Bye. Thank you.